Hey folks, it's instrument time. Today we are going to briefly discuss what is possibly the most iconic guitar ever manufactured. That would be the Martin D-35. So I'm not going to speak too much about Martin. In particular, Martin has been around since 1833. It says so on the headstock if you can't remember. Clearly they've been in business for a long time. They may or may not be the largest manufacturer of guitars in the United States. Both Martin and Taylor are way up there in production numbers. Both of them have Mexican factories as well as US factories, and neither one discloses how many guitars are made in each one. We're pretty sure that the majority for both of them is made in the Mexican factories. My guess is that Martin makes more in the US than Taylor, but that's certainly subject to debate. So, the Martin D-35. So the D-35 was first manufactured in 1965, and the most iconic thing about the D-35 is, of course, the gorgeous three-piece back. This was designed in order to help conserve dwindling stocks of rosewood. In particular, back then, that would have been Brazilian rosewood or Dalbergia nigra. They stopped using it entirely in 1969, and by 1970, they were using Indian rosewood. This is, of course, Indian rosewood. The center panel on the D-35 was Brazilian rosewood, probably through 70, maybe into 71 or 72. It's the smallest piece, so they used what they had left over, obviously. Martin, as always, placed contrasting wedges in here. So if you see a guitar and the three wedges are the same color, that's a hint that something might be wrong. We saw a very bad knockoff on the acoustic guitar forum a couple weeks ago, where not only were the three wedges all the same color, the purfling between the wedges was not correct, and there were a bunch of other things that were not quite right about it. So Martins are copyright infringed. There are counterfeits out there, so be careful, obviously. So what is special about the Martin D-35? So first of all, it is a dreadnought. Dreadnoughts are not that special, not anymore. When they first came out, they were obviously pretty special. They did name it after the largest warship ever built up to that time, which was the HMS Dreadnought, which was essentially the first all large gun battleship, first of the modern battleships, which of course made everything else obsolete and kicked off yet another arms race. And at the time, this was the biggest guitar anyone made, and so it was the Dreadnought guitar. This shape is the shape that people think of when they think of guitars. In Germany, these are still called Western guitars, as opposed to classical guitars. So when they say Western guitar, that can mean steel string, but generally it means Dreadnought steel string. It wasn't until Eric Clapton played his 00042 on MTV Unplugged in the early 90s that smaller guitars started becoming back in fashion again, which I appreciate, because I personally find a Dreadnought to be a very large guitar. They're not comfortable to play sitting down. They're much easier with a strap standing up in a country western band. Standard scale, 25.4 inches, as you would expect from a Martin. 1 11/16 inch at the nut, as you'd expect on most Dreadnought guitars. They were originally narrower to compete with banjos, which have a narrower neck. 14 frets clear the body. The D-35 does not come with a cutaway. It can come left-handed if you like. They do not normally come with a pickup installed. I bought this on the used market. It already had a Fishman in it, which is actually what I like, so that's nice. So what makes the D-35 distinctive visually is the three-piece back. Sonically, the D-35 has narrower bracing than other Martin guitars. So while the D-28 has 5/16 inch bracing, the D-35 has 1/4 inch bracing. 1/4 inch bracing does two things. One, it makes the top more responsive, which means you get more sound for less energy input. And two, it tends to scoop the mids out a little bit. So you get more treble, more bass, definitely more bass, but that middle is scooped out, and that's what makes it so attractive as a singer-songwriter guitar, because it scoops out the middle, your voice sits in that pocket really nicely. And these guitars were famously played by everyone. Elvis played a D-35, the Man in Black played a D-35, Jim Croce played a D-35, although he's pictured with a D-21 on some album covers, but he was playing a D-35. The Martin D-35 also has neck binding, which is nice. It means the fret ends don't stick out, which is a nice little upgrade. Not all guitars do that. Mine has closed back tuners. They've come various ways over the years. They have been made for the past 55 years or so. Well, as you'd expect from a guitar with lighter top bracing, it finger picks quite nicely. And as you'd expect from a Dreadnought, it's going to strum quite well too. So the story behind this guitar is several years ago my wife got a horse. It was a thoroughbred. His name is Ezra. He's from Ireland of all places. And so since she got a horse, I got a guitar. The horse was technically free, but there's a reason the phrase "eats like a horse" exists in the English language. So in the long run, she probably got the better end of the deal. But one of these days, she will no longer have that horse, and I will still have this guitar. So that's fun. So these are great guitars. I like them. I especially like the scoop mids. I don't play it that often because it is a big guitar. It's definitely something much more comfortable played standing up. If you do decide that you want one of these, like I said, do be careful. There are a lot of fakes out there. A lot of Martin fakes in general. Same with Taylor, Fender. Anything popular gets copied in China and imported illegally with a fake logo on it. So don't get caught with counterfeit goods, because it sucks for the people making the real stuff. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next time on Instrument Time.